Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Pretty Real Persona. I am your host, Ariana Rees. And today's episode is about energy shifts and spiritual upgrades when life starts acting different. So, if everything suddenly feels off, congratulations, baby. You might be upgrading. You ever wake up one day and your tolerance is gone, your intuition is loud, and certain people feel expired? That's not you being dramatic. That's an energy shift. Today we're talking about spiritual upgrades, what they look like, what they feel like, uncomfortable, and how to move through them without spiraling or like self-sabotaging. So first, what is an energy shift actually? An energy shift is when your soul updates but your life didn't read the email. Sometimes it takes your life a little bit to adjust when you shift. Energy shifts as internal alignment changes. So it's like energy shift is really just like your soul aligning, and then your physical life is going to follow after. Um, Life will start to feel off before it feels better. So it's like in those moments, those transitional moments, those transitions where it's like, you're in the in between. Like, I feel like people downplay the in between. Life is literally like life is full of basically the in-betweens. How do you operate during the in between achievements, in between, or there's an in-between after you have success, the in-between where you're sitting in success, and waiting for the next thing, in between when you are trying to figure out life. Like, there's so many in-betweens, so many things that can lead you to feel off before like life actually starts to get better or changes for you. And some in between seasons, you're outgrowing old patterns, peoples, and habits. So it's like you're truly going through a spiritual growth where it's like the people, and the things that you used to do, they just don't align with you anymore. You don't feel like doing those things, or those things just don't excite you, or maybe those things you were doing were toxic and you need to get away from doing things like that. And it's just like, or maybe you asked God, you prayed to God, you asked him like, please, take this out of my life. I don't want this for my future self, and he delivered. So you're outgrowing them. And it's like upgrades often start with discomfort, whether it's like, a lot of no's. You hear a lot of no's, whether it's a job and you're starting to hear a lot of no's. So you kind of got to stay where you're at, but it's not where you want to end up. It's not where you want to be. And it's so hard to sit in those moments, or, you're working at a job where it's like you're not making as much money to like support yourself or do the things that you want to do, or that you're destined to do. But it's like you got to wait in those seasons, and it's super uncomfortable. It's completely uncomfortable. It's literally like will make your whole body uncomfortable, make your mind uncomfortable. But it's like you have to go through those seasons before it gets better, before you shift. Like, you have to. First, between chaos and recalibration, like in those in-between seasons, it's like you're recalibrating slowly but surely. And it's like they're like anything in life, the ups and downs, and they can be chaotic, but it's like it shouldn't be toxic. And your outer world resists change when your inner world's leveling up. That's friction, not failure. So some signs you're experiencing a spiritual upgrade: when stuff you used to tolerate now gives you the ick. Like, you have increased sensitivity to environments and people. So maybe you're still hanging around in those environments where you may be potentially outgrowing, and you start to feel like sensitive or uncomfortable or extra, like, like things you normally speak up and say that's wrong, even though you thought it, now you are. And then you start to get like, a toxic response for someone, or you get a response from someone or something that makes you think like, wow, they don't respect me, they don't care about me. You start to, realize like, this is not an aligned space for me. So you think like, okay, I need to remove myself. And then it's like in this season, your intuition is getting stronger, and you're quick to discernment. which is great. That's all a sign of spiritually upgrading. You're feeling tired but inspired at the same time. Like sometimes, you at the beginning it could be you're just feeling tired. You're just getting up every day choosing to just keep going, but you don't know where you're going, but you know that you just have to keep going, and clarity is eventually going to come. You have a desire for solitude, rest, and slower living. I swear that's always the key in those in between moments. Slow everything down. Really start to do those self-care things and taking care of yourself. And like be more to yourself, journal more, watch more TV, like just sitting with yourself, sit in quiet spaces, listen to music. Start to really do some more hobbies, like, because upgrades don't always feel powerful. Sometimes they just feel like exhaustion with the purpose. Sometimes you don't always know the purpose either. Like that's a big thing. You don't always know the purpose, but if you keep showing up and you're committed to like figuring it out, or you know just keep going. So next I want to move on and talk about like why spiritual upgrades feel so uncomfortable. Like growth will ruin your ability to play dumb. Sorry. Like a lot of times we're playing dumb, or like we're enabling things that people do that we would never do, but it's like you can't. Like you literally can't. Like you just wake up and you start to feel like, nah, I'm not playing this. I'm going to let you know like this is wrong and why it's wrong. Um it's hard, like it can feel so uncomfortable because like your ego versus your soul conflict. Your soul wants to upgrade, your soul wants to get closer to being your higher self, while your ego wants to stay complacent, or your ego wants to sabotage you. And then it's like your nervous system resists unfamiliar peace. So it's like you could be extremely nervous in this season of your life while you're going through a spiritual upgrade, and that makes it feel so uncomfortable because it's like boom, when your nervous system is unregulated, your emotions are unregulated, physically you're unregulated, and it makes it very uncomfortable to like live, to go on, to get up every day, and it's like you don't really know what to do. A lot of times like moving your body helps, so working out. So I feel like working out, that's also another part of slowing down, and just being in your solitude, being in your own. um and then it's like you literally grieve the old version of yourself. You're shedding old identities. You are not who you used to be. You don't allow the things that you used to allow, and that's coming to the forefront, and it's making you realize like I'm growing. And it's like it can be a very lonely season for you, which is completely, loneliness is uncomfortable. Like you can becoming more self-aware. You could just have people who don't understand what you're going through, and you don't know how to explain it to them, so it's just very lonely because it's like no one is going through what you're going through. We all high key live a unique experience, and it's like you know you may not be able to find someone who knows what you're going through, and that's okay, but you got to be okay with that as well. And it's like you're not losing yourself, you're shedding versions that no longer fit. And it's like energy changes and energy shifts can really change relationships. Like when your energy upgrades but that group chat stays the same, baby, you literally have to, you could, sometimes, whether it's friendships, relationships, it's like sometimes there's no beef. You can love people from a distance. You can always have the same love for people, but it's just like as much as as much access as I used to give to you, or I used to have for you, I just can't anymore, Like that's just the thing. Like you'll start to naturally distance from like misaligned connections and people, places, and things, like, and it could be a quiet ending. Like I said, there's no beef, but it's just like I gotta go where it's aligned at, where I'm aligned at. And it's like sometimes we like feel guilt for releasing, and outgrowing people because it's like nothing happened. But it's just like, I don't want to be pulled into some of the things that I know that you're still doing. And I don't want to be pulled into, you know, I got to change for the better. I got to change my life for me, for my higher self, for my future kids, for the things that I want in my life. Like, and I got to make, and when you're clearing those old connections, you're making space for aligned connections, more aligned things to come into your life. And alignment doesn't require an announcement. Sometimes it just requires honesty, like with yourself. So I want to do a new segment today called Upgrade Checkpoint. So let's see what level you just unlocked. So this segment, like the concept of this segment is like a short reflective pause where you guys can assess what your current upgrade is asking you. So ask yourself, what feels heavier than it used to? What am I being asked to release, not fix? Where am I forcing instead of flowing? What kind of rest does this version of me need? And get in your journal bag. I know y'all would never hear me not tell you to get in your journal bag. Get in your journal bag and just, journal some of these questions. Leave them in the comments and let me know what some of the answers were. Let me know what feels heavier than it used to. What are you being asked to release, not fix? Like, I want to hear some of your stories, like, because every upgrade comes with instructions. The problem is, like, we try to skip the reading. So next, I want to talk about how to move through an energy shift without self-sabotaging. This is not the time to text your ex or make an impulsive decision. That itself is self-sabotage, baby. We're not on that. We're not doing that. Let's get ourselves together. Come on. We are going to slow down instead of seeking instant clarity, seeking instant validation. We are going to be validating ourselves so that we're not self-sabotaging our vision and self-sabotaging our shift, our change. We're prioritizing rest, grounding, and routines. You need a routine, like whether it's like you go to sleep every night at the same time, you're meal prepping, you're going to the gym, you're journaling, you're sitting more to yourself and thinking, like you're resting. Like, rest is everything. Rest, I promise you, rest is so important to the body. It's so important. We're letting answers unfold instead of forcing timelines. We're not forcing answers or trying to come up, everything on our own. We're just letting them come to us. They will come. I promise you, it will come. We're trusting the pause as a part of the process. Like in betweens, they are, or transition periods or death and rebirth seasons, like they are a part of growth in life, and they happen. And sometimes they happen every year. You might experience one. Every couple years you might experience one. You never know, but you have to just be ready to, readjust your whole self and slow down and rest and just try to listen to what the universe, what God is trying to tell you. And then choosing self-compassion over self-judgment. You have to give yourself grace, because if you don't, you're only stressing yourself out. Judging yourself is not going to help you get through this season. It's not going to help you get to your shift faster. It's going to only self-sabotage you, because you're not giving yourself grace and you're not giving yourself love in the time that you need it. You don't need to be more during an upgrade. You need to listen better. Energy shifts don't come to disrupt your life. They come to realign it. And while the process may feel, unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or lonely, it's proof that you're becoming someone who can hold more. So if this episode resonated, share it with someone who's been feeling off lately. Comment or DM me what you feel like you're being upgraded out of, Follow and subscribe to Pretty Real Persona for grounded spiritual conversations that don't bypass reality. And remember, every upgrade comes with a transition phase. Be gentle with yourself. Give yourself grace. Show yourself love. Give yourself a hug. So I am your host, Ariana Reese, and this is Pretty Real Persona. And I love you guys, and I'll see you guys next week. Every Wednesday, babies. Bye.